Oh, Valentine's Day, a month that sees significant others getting together and spending some quality time with each other. Unfortunately, there's a lot of single people out there in this day and age, but hey, we get ourselves a movie about the said month of Valentine's, so I guess take it what you will. Either it makes you numb the pain, or at least you'll get some entertainment. I don't know. But hey, as my gift to you on this lonely holiday for so many of us, happy Valentine's Day.
Sorry, brother. Love hurts.
Love Hurts is directed by Jonathan Eusebio and written by Matthew Murray, Josh Stoddard, and Luke Passmore. Film stars Quan, Ariana DeBose, Daniel Wu, Marshawn Lynch, Mustafa Shakir, Lilo Tipton, Rhys Darby, André, Eriksen, and Sean Astin. According to IMDb's plot synopsis, a realtor is pulled back into the life he left behind after his former partner in crime resurfaces with an anonymous message. With his crime lord brother also on his trail, he must confront his past and the history he never fully buried. Quan has been on the come-ups ever since his Oscar-worthy performance in Everything Everywhere All at Once, which I know a lot of people will be mad when I say this. I still have yet to watch it. I know that's blasphemy for a lot of people, especially for somebody like me, but still, I will see it, I promise. And I am not denying anybody that says that he was not fantastic in that movie. I'm just saying I still have yet to watch it. Since then, however, he has been appearing in projects more and more ever since that said movie, like Kung Fu Panda 4 and Loki Season 2. But he was more of side roles. Those are roles that he was not the main star. He was just a side character. Finally, he's been given the chance to be the lead of an action comedy. This is now his chance to now prove to a lot of people that he can lead a movie by himself and just his star power and charisma that he has, and hopefully win people over into many more movies that he could potentially lead. I'm really happy for this guy, alright? I'm very happy knowing that Quan, who had struggled for many years trying to get roles in Hollywood ever since the 80s, and now he is finally given a chance to fully prove in himself and to so many people that he has what it takes to lead a film of this nature. To be honest, I was actually really looking forward to this movie. I think that the concept of this being not just really an action comedy, but like a Valentine's Day action comedy, I thought sounded interesting and kind of fun. Unfortunately for me, this film falls flat on the ground and kind of leaves all of us heartbroken, if you will, because yeah, I have to say I was really let down by this movie. As much as I wanted to say really positive things, and I do have them, I just cannot help but feel like audiences will be left half empty. If you ask me, I feel like this movie just truly couldn't fully deliver with what the premise, or at the very least, the idea of an action comedy during Valentine's Day could offer to so many people, but I could be proven wrong because I know that people have opinions, people have their right to feel how they feel, and people can enjoy this. I had a buddy of mine who really liked this. I'm just saying for myself, I left the theater feeling really let down by this movie. But before getting into my problems, here are the positives I have to say about it. The performances are entertaining. Quan is fun as Marvin Gable, a realtor who has a dark past, which we learn he used to be a enforcer to his brother, who is crime lord and is the villain of this film. Quan looks like he is having a ton of fun, and he is such a delight and keeps the film watchable. Anytime he is on screen and he is really putting his effort in, he is the one that I am really enjoying the most, because he truly understands what he's in. He truly understands that this is absurd, that this is dumb, but he can have a very enjoyable time, and I feel like the charm of him being kind of like that realtor friendly type of deal and having confront that past of his, I think made for a very fun watch with him really playing that role. And also too, I didn't mind Ariana DeBose. Now, I'm not saying that she was a standout, but I will say compared to the last movie I saw her in, which was Kraven the Hunter, yeah, this is a step up. I'm not saying that this 100% makes up for everything, but I will say, like, okay, it's better. I'll say better, if you will. And I do think that both Hugh Quan and Ariana DeBose, I think they're enjoyable. I think they really have good chemistry with each other on screen. As much as I have a problem with the writing, they seem like they really have good rapport with one another. And I actually really like Marshawn Lynch in this movie, as much as I understand that he's just kind of being himself. But I mean, I can't deny he's a ton of fun. He seems like he's also having an enjoyable time playing roles like these, and for that, I'm happy that the guy can still do stuff in this day and age. Hey, if he's having fun, I'm not gonna be angry about it. And I didn't mind Daniel Wu. I mean, I have a problem with his character, but overall, I don't think he was terrible in the movie. I think he had to work with what he was given. I think he did decently. The action is fun. Every action sequence has a sense of excitement and charm whenever Kyu Kwan is being at the center of it all. It may be like a Jackie Chan action movie because let's face it, I mean, this movie kind of has that kind of feeling with regards to how Marvin Gable fights in this film, or rather Kyu Kwan does, because I mean, if you look at the two of them in terms of how they use the environment around them and how they get out of sticky situations, they're pretty similar. But it's still a lot of fun. I'm not going to deny. I still was having an entertaining time seeing Kihu Kwan fight the two hitmen as well as another hitman that Mustafa Shakir plays, and seeing the fights go down, I think they were still entertaining, keeping my interest going throughout the entire movie. The cinematography is fluent. Cinematographer Richard Nielsen manages to capture the action on display that's clear to see, getting the crucial part of an action film. I am happy at the very least that the action was not super sloppily shot. It was actually put together well enough to where you can see how the action was being handled and how it was shot, and thankfully you could see it all, and having it be clear to the audience without having it be like super shaky cam and whatnot. I'm really happy about that. The production is impressive with a budget of $18 million, which is pretty low for an action comedy. Usually nowadays, action comedies tend to still be in like the 100 million, but the fact that this is like 18 million is kind of interesting. But it does and feels of high quality. There's not a moment in this movie that I don't think that there wasn't a lot of effort being put into how the sets were and how the quality of it still feels of higher budget films. The amount of effort is shown throughout this entire movie. I can feel like the amount of quality and effort that was put into an $18 million project, I think it's pretty impressive. I think it's pretty amazing to see that even in today's age, we could still find ways to have costs with regards to productions and still have it look like it is of good quality. But beyond that, I thought that this was a huge letdown for me, and it all felt lackluster by the end of it. And that's the sad part I walked away from with this movie, was that it just felt half empty with its premise and what it was trying to go for. So here are the negatives that I have. The direction is kind of all over the place. First time director Jonathan Eusebio has a hard time with balancing the action and the comedy out well enough. It's just totally felt like it was all over the place. I think that is the disappointing part, is that when a first time director has a vision and he wants to bring these elements together, but he doesn't know how to clearly separate, or at the very least level them out. It almost just kind of feels like everything is just a wavy length. It just all feels like it's just going up, down, up, down, up, down. It's like a rough ride trying to get through a film that has both the action and the comedy at the forefront, but when it struggles to find that sweet middle ground, it just kind of feels like it's going back and forth with its tone and trying to be serious and then trying to be goofy. And it just kind of felt like it was just a disappointment to see a first time director who I hope continues to find work, and I hope he can redeem himself. But as a first time one, not a good start. But it's okay. I get it. That's usually the case with a lot of first time directors. But still, it is kind of a disappointing note to know that your first movie that is of this quality just couldn't really match the level of what we were going with. The writing is bland. It feels like it tries to be fun, but forces so many Valentine's Day references and jokes that it's not in a way which it felt clever or woven into the film. It just kind of felt like they had to throw it in there because, well, it's Valentine's Day. You got to throw in as many references as you can to Valentine's Day. And it could be the same trait over and over again, but we gotta throw it in there no matter what. There are sometimes movies that are set during holidays that can weave in the jokes or mentions of a holiday that feels right. But when a movie tries so hard to be about Valentine's Day by just throwing in so many sort of jokes and references to Valentine's Day, but then not feeling clever, that's where it starts to kind of feel like there wasn't a lot of effort being put into clever jokes of this movie. There was a few chuckles I had, but nothing that had me really laughing that much. The story is messy, a fun concept. Like I said, I don't think this is a bad concept. I think this is an okay and enjoyable one at best, but it feels half-baked and falls into the trappings of every action comedy that you've seen. If you've seen one, you've seen them all, and I'm sure you've seen how this movie would play out. It's nothing like it's going to do anything revolutionary, in which case I'm not looking for that, but the thing is that though, when you still fall into the trappings into a movie like this, it just starts to kind of notice that you can't bring something a little bit original, or at the very least trying to be something completely different to where you're a little bit memorable. Because by the end of it, it just doesn't stand out. It feels like it just was made and that's it. There's nothing about this movie that I'm going to remember that stood out to me as being like, oh my god, that was that one scene that stood out to me the most. Like, no, there's nothing about this movie in terms of when it takes place that makes it stand out of being that. It just kind of felt like it just was a Valentine's Day action comedy. That's it. The music is forgettable. Composer Dominic Lewis makes a score that's not memorable to add. Also, the licensed music didn't do much for the film. I thought that the licensed music could have worked into this, especially from the trailer of using Celine Dion. But in the end, I found most of the score and the licensed music to just not fit super well into the film in how a way it could have worked, and I think the score could have been so much better with regards to being a little bit more recognizable. The pacing and runtime is so short. Each scene feels rushed and doesn't know how to take its time with it. It feels like they are constantly going through this plot. They are trying to hit everything within a certain amount of time, and it just feels like it's not explained enough, or it just feels like they just don't want to have to explain it all. With a runtime of 1 hour and 23 minutes, it's so short. For an action movie, like, most of the time, most action movies kind of land within at least, like, an hour and a half or an hour and 40. Like, the fact that this lands only close to an hour and a half is kind of interesting. Because I never would have imagined a movie like this hitting only close to an hour and a half. And it kind of starts to show the pacing and how it's all put together feeling so rushed and so last minute that it just doesn't feel like it's natural in a way for most action comedies. The villain is vanilla. Nothing about Marvin's brother is terrifying nor imitating, just average. Could have been so memorable in so many ways. There are so many action movies where you have a villain that at least you'll remember who they are. But Marvin's brother, Knuckles, Daniel Wu, there's nothing about him that stands out. The only thing I could say that kind of stands out is the fact that he just drinks boba. People, he drinks boba. Especially when action goes down, he's just sipping more boba tea. Like, really? That's the... And how he sometimes kills people, he takes the straw and kills people with it. I'm not joking. He literally takes a plastic, a little bit of a pointy straw, but really still a plastic straw, kills people with it. What? Like, I'm supposed to be terrified of this guy? Really? And no offense to Daniel Wu. Again, I'm not trying to blame him. I'm blaming how his character is in this movie that I'm like, why am I supposed to be scared of this guy? Because Marvin's like talking about him like he's like a very terrifying, scary dude. And I watch him like, okay, like there's nothing really scary about this guy. I mean, sure, he's a little imitating by the end of the movie, but like, end of the day, why is people really scared of this guy? I don't know. I was really disappointed by the film, and I really hope Quan the best going forward after this movie. He still has 2 projects coming out with The Electric State as well as Zootopia 2, so I'm really hoping he at least gets a hit from him, or at the very least, he still is enjoyable enough to where he could still continue to work, because it just sucks that his first leading role couldn't win me over. That's the thing that hurts me the most, is when an actor who struggled so long to get roles and is finally made a comeback and now is like starting to do movies again, and the next movie he does after winning an Oscar is just not a good one. It really sucks. And I wish him all the best. He deserves it so much than a lot of people in Hollywood these days, but I cannot hide my feelings about this movie. It just leaves my heart broken. It really does. Even around Valentine's Day, this movie just leaves my heart just really sinking so low and making me feel really bad knowing that this movie couldn't win me over. I'm going to give Love Hurts a 4 out of 10. I just don't think this movie was not good. It's not definitely the worst thing I've seen, but I do think that it could have been so much better. And for a movie that is tackling Valentine's Day, I just feel like they tried way too hard putting in the references to that said holiday that it just kind of makes me go, man, I feel like you're trying way too hard with making this be about the holiday. And it's just like you couldn't have come up with something a little bit clever with how you were trying to weave that in. It's disappointing. I'm kind of sad knowing that I couldn't like it, but that's just me. So now I will be doing my review for Captain America Brave New World next week. So yes, look forward to those reviews and other movie TV show reviews coming soon.